Welcome to Season 2 of Trap Talk.
Brought to you by Krieghoff.
Welcome back to another episode of Trap Talk. I'm your host, Zach Nannini. I'm here with my co-host, Richard Marshall Jr., and we have our friend and the lady captain, Raylee Bishop. Welcome to the show, Raylee.
Glad to be here.
Rick, would you mind doing the honors of young Raylee?
Sure. So Raylee is a three-time Lady One All-American. She's the past 2 years, two-time Lady One captain. She has 6 200s, 6 100s and doubles. I think that's 5 more than Zach. I'm just kidding.
Maybe 10 more. I don't know.
She did break 500 by 500 at the Grand last year in the prelim singles, which is quite the accomplishment. Not very many people have done it. I know was there like 3 or 4 that did it last year, Raylee?
Something like that.
I know Daryl Hayes did it. And I know she did it. I don't know anyone else that did.
I think the last 3 years, though, what I paid more attention to, there's been a lady that's run it at least for the last 3 years. I think Shelby did it the year before me, and then I think Stacy was the year before her.
Yep.
So
yeah. So that is quite the accomplishment. But she also won the HOA at the Great Lakes Grand in 2022, which the HOA over everybody, the Open.
Yeah.
Yes. And then she won the HAA and HOA at the prelims of the Grand and the main Grand week this past year. So that's pretty awesome.
For the Lady One category.
For the lady.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
So that is awesome. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's nice to finally have you on. We were talking with John, and we were like, hey, what's something cool we could do? And we decided we wanted to start interviewing the captains this year and just kind of going through and getting their perspective on it. So that being said, you're not only the captain, you're the back-to-back captain. So, we didn't get to talk to you last year, but we're talking to you this year. Were you going into this year wanting to go back-to-back captain, or what was the mindset coming off of Captain Run for you going into this target year?
I think after the first year I got it, I actually talked to you, Zach, and I said I was exhausted mentally. When that's your number one goal for a year of shooting, you're thinking about every target as a point, and then if I miss this one, is that going to be what costs me? Like, it is not fun. And then you guys know Dad, so when so when we have a collaborative goal, if something goes wrong, then it's like button heads. So that was really, really exhausting that first year. And then on top of that, I switched guns in between the two. And so the first couple of weeks, I didn't even have it on my mind, honestly. But then as things started to progress and my scores were kind of where I wanted them, I took it more as with perspective. If I shot the way I wanted to and I shot the way I could and towards those kinds of goals, then it was very possible captain would come with it. So that was my perspective this year.
And honestly, that's a great perspective to have, because I went back-to-back 2 years ago, and I understand what you're saying about the pressure a little bit, and it can get to you, and Zach knows this. I mean, I remember the last couple of years, when Zach got back into shooting more and more since COVID, he was fighting to try to be on the first team, and he's like, man, I'm trying to shoot every target, and it can be a strain, and that's why I always, my hat's off to no matter what it is, category, open, Lady One, Lady Two, Junior, whatever.
Anywhere on the team.
Yeah, it's tough to be captain, because you got a lot of pressure, and in your case, you got your lovely father that, Yeah,
I like him. He's always nice to me. He's funny too.
Good guy, but he's like.
So I want to unpack that a little bit, because Raylee, you mentioned, you got done with the year. You were exhausted because, obviously, probably the highest goal that you could set yourself to for that category. You got it knocked off. You go into this season, and it was like, okay, now what, right? So that perspective of not even really focusing on, hey, I'm going to go back-to-back captain, but just going back to working on the fundamentals and getting back to breaking targets again. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. So my singles, when I switched guns, I I took a break a little bit over winter. I think I got my gun in November, and I shot it during derbies a little bit. But
Yep.
then, as soon as the weather started to kind of get better, I took it to a collegiate national event. So I had probably shot it less, maybe even than 1,000 targets, and then I was taking it to a national competition, and that went all right. But then by the time it got to Missouri, I was practicing, and it was kind of in an iffy spot for doubles and handicap, and I thought maybe I could get away with it. And as soon as I got to Missouri, singles were fine, but the rest of them it was painful. And so then I got shipped home to practice and figure it out before I went to my next event.
So and most people would think that, a captain just comes into the season strong and shoots every target great and just, it's all roses and perfume. But it sounds like you had a lot of struggle right at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, the handicap, and that's usually kind of my struggle point is handicap, but it was painful every go, and I could not figure out for the life of me what was going wrong. I ended up running the 200 in Missouri for the singles championship. It was me and Bruce Davis. I was on post 1, and he was on post 2 on our squad.
I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, we went back to back, but that was really the only event that I was legitimately happy with. And so, yeah, it was.
Did you win that event? Or
Yeah, I think he missed the first target out, and
I
that's
thought
what
so.
saved me. Yeah,
I called him. Bruce, what happened? No,
He says he told me, he said, if you're going to lose a shoot off, lose it early, because it doesn't matter if you lose it anyway,
Yeah.
right? You go 300 rounds and lose it. That sucks a lot more than just losing it on the first box. I mean, he's a very smart man.
Yeah, and I saw him later that night, and he said, "You're lucky that I missed that first target. Otherwise, we would still be out there." And I said, "Yep, very true."
Only
I
Bruce
was well
would say
aware.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bruce can get away with a lot because everyone loves him. But so when you had that struggle in handicap, what did you go do to work on that? I mean, because obviously you shot great handicaps towards the end of the year. You had to shoot great handicaps at the Grand to win the overalls and the all-arounds in your division. What were you doing practice-wise to kind of dig yourself out of that hole?
So with the new gun, we went to Dale's, okay, and then it was kind of a mix of things: patterning board, rounds, and we used a Garmin. So, and then there was Dad and Dale behind me too. So, with those things,
Double
kind of
team.
all. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
you should have called me, Raylee. I'd have got you done quicker.
You could have got one Ricky Marshall to handle all that.
Well, we went from practice where I was like, I think I can get away with it, and Dad was like, you're so screwed. And then we went to Missouri, and it was not good except for singles. And then I got sent home on Sunday, and Monday I went to Dale's and practiced, and there was a while there that day because I was happy with the singles, so I did not want to touch the gun because I was like,
Yeah.
I got one thing going for me. Are we gonna mess that up?
Don't take that away.
3 events. You gotta be good all 3.
So I couldn't figure out if it was me or the gun. So Dad was like, it's going to be the gun. And so we adjusted the gun on Monday, and I shot practices. And then Tuesday, I drove to Ohio and then was shooting that week. So over the course of a day, we made some adjustments based on my pattern on the patterning board, and I think where the Garmin was saying I was shooting. And then kind of went off that and shot some rounds. And I
So go ahead.
think Ohio actually went all right. I think I got decent points. I don't know about the scores I put up, but I didn't really make a whole lot of adjustments after that anyway. So,
All right, folks, we got to take a quick second and give a huge shout out to our title sponsor, Krieghoff. Me and Ricky both shoot him. We both love him.
Yeah, best gun in the industry. I shoot them, I sell them, nothing better, folks. Get yourself a Krieghoff, your scores will increase.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky's got hundreds and hundreds of hundreds with his. I mean, I've got a few hundreds, but I'm always working to get a little bit better, and they definitely help me, that's for sure. So on top of that, we also got to thank Wenig. I'm wearing the shirt today. Love this shirt. If you're down at the Grand, pick one up.
Yeah, Wenig, like I said, Zach, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds with my Wenig stock. You know, get a hold of Bobby, Luke, Bill, get an appointment set up. They will make you a better shooter with that Wenig stock.
Of course, yeah, the Grand's the great place to do it. Give them a call, get on their book. It's worth your time.
Just remember, winners shoot Wenigs.
With that being said,
let's get back to the show. Well, so what did you do different? Did you adjust the gun a little bit for handicap?
It was
it shooting
the gun.
too flat, or was it shooting too high?
I think we adjusted something on the barrel. I can't remember if we raised it or lowered it. I think it was.
I remember talking to your dad about it a little bit because we were at Missouri and we talked about it, and then you came back and then you were hitting everything, and I said, "What'd you do?" And he was like, "Oh, it was shooting too flat." So I think it was. I mean, I think, and that's, you know, Rick talks about this all the time, setting the gun up for handicap, and
Yes.
you know, if your gun is too flat, potentially, you can still make it work in singles because at that distance, you can shoot a flatter point of impact and really crush some big scores, especially if you ride that target out a little bit more. You're not blowing it up off the arm like the old Mitchell Loveless, but I'm real fast. But Joe Charnigo maybe, but
hey, don't be trying to throw Joe under the bus. We're throwing you under the bus today.
I love the bus. But that being said, it's one of those things where you get caught up in, man, I don't want to give up on my one game. I want to hold on to that. And then you're sacrificing the rest. And I think that point of impact, because you were breaking a lot of bottoms and chipping a lot of bottoms. And then, I mean, I don't know how much it went up, but I think it was, another 30%-ish that you went up, and you started really getting into the center of that target. And then good things started happening.
Well, and that's one of the things, Raylee, that a lot of people, and you're young. How old are you, Raylee? 21?
21, yep.
Yeah, so you're 21. Now, here's the one thing, and I've said this for years with a lot of students is, listen, let's set the gun up for handicap, 27-yard shooters, set it up for 27, and then learn to shoot it. And some people go, okay, great. And then I've had some people that were like me when the first time I did it with my Katie, I went from breaking 25s and singles to breaking 19s and 20s. I'm like, I ain't doing this. I'm like, no, because I was like, well, but then when I literally consistently started breaking those handicap scores, I was like, wait a second.
Well, once he hit that first Calcutta, he said, them singles can stay home. We don't need them.
So, but that's the one thing. And for all our listeners out there, understand that, that's one of the reasons we do this show is to get everybody's perspective on everything, their, struggles, what they went through and such, to try to help people and shorten that learning, curve. Because Correct. Like I just got back from Amarillo teaching, great club down there. Shout out to those guys. We had an awesome time, but, I only had 2 long yardage shooters in it, and the rest were like 22-yard shooters. So we didn't really dial in guns so much. I just was making sure they were moving correctly to targets. But that's the one thing is you really want to dial it in. Then you walk up to the 16s and like, hey, I maybe need to wait a little bit on that target, Once okay, we're good. And then you just got to practice it, to get consistent. That's the main thing.
All right, folks, we got to take another quick break and thank some more sponsors. We've got Game Masters. Ricky, you're our guy over there, right?
Yep. I sell every gun you can imagine. We've got a ton of Krieghoffs, every other brand available. So if you guys need something, let us know. We can hook you up with the shoots. We got vendor buildings in Arizona, Ohio, and then Sparta at the Grand American.
Yeah, I do like sucking up that free AC in Sparta, that's for sure. I mean, it's a good time. Come by and say hi to us.
That's right.
Also, Shot Tracker. I mean, we've had great success with them. Ricky, you've been involved since day one. So
it's like having a coacher on the end of your barrel. It's a great tool, especially for doubles. That's what I really like it for. You can see the transition moving from the first target to the second target. That's where a lot of people get lost in no man's land. losing that target.
I love that, and I also love the new software update, the stuff that's coming down the pipe. Those guys are constantly innovating. So with that being said,
let's get back to the show.
So Raylee, now that you've gone captain 2 times in a row, and you're also in college, right? Are you gonna focus on staying focused on school this year and maybe backing off of shooting a little bit, or are you diving in deep and trying to go for it again, or are you haven't made up your mind yet, or what do you think's going on in there?
So I just shot in Arizona, and that went well. That kind of had a dual purpose. We were there for shooting over spring break, and then my brother is a type 1 diabetic, and so he actually ended up getting a service dog while we were down there. So Dad and I were shooting, and then the rest of the family was getting a dog. So that busy week for us. So that went well for me for the most part.
That was Arizona State shoot.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I'll get a few shoots in here and there this summer. I'll go to the entirety of Iowa and the Grand for sure. But this summer I've got an internship. They're going to be, I think, pretty lenient. It's going to be mostly online, and then they'll let me work 410s. So I kind of got a good deal for a college student.
Yeah, you got a real job.
Yeah.
What are you going to be doing, Raylee?
DOT. So, and civil engineering. So, yeah, you kind of need to start doing internships and adulting a little bit. Dad's going to kick me out of his wallet.
That's wonderful. And, what's even more wonderful is that you've been to the top of the game, and then you have enough perspective to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to just drive into this all the way and just keep going forever right now. I'm going to work on getting my education or work on building a business and getting that side of it, and then doing it at your own pace. Because I can tell you, just watching it, there's not many guys in the world that can be like Ricky Marshalls or Leo Harrisons where they can make a living doing this sport. And I think that the money that was here 30 years ago just isn't really here now, right? So now you have to really build a business on helping, educating, instructing, and being out there. And having that thing that you're passionate about at a young age is going to carry you a long time. So if there's young listeners listening to the show, find that thing that you want to do, and you can still shoot. I mean, there's no one says that you can't shoot. You could do what you want to do. And I think based on that flexibility, it sounds like you're still going to have an opportunity to take a swing at it. It doesn't sound like you're saying it's a no-go, right? Like you're still wanting to get after it, huh?
Oh, yeah, I got a shot.
I don't want them to forget. I'm still going to be around.
You're still alive.
One thing is, I've got Kohler and Remington who are still sponsoring me, and so, I was shooting that first year I got captain. Then it was kind of like me showing I'm here, I've got potential, and then Kohler and Remington took me on, and so last year I was like this was a worthy investment, and so then this year this year it will be, I can still maintain those things while starting my adulting responsibilities. So, yeah. So with the internship I was able to get, shooting had a pretty heavy contributing factor in why I chose that internship, because I still will be able to shoot Saturday, Sunday, some Fridays, and depending on how those first few weeks go, then maybe even traveling a little bit here and there and working
the whole Grand
from shoots. Yep. So
yeah, well, and that's the one thing that for all the listeners out there, and I've said this forever, and I'm a college coach also, but worry about your studies, because if you want to shoot this lovely game of clay target sports, whether it be trap, skeet, or sporting, you've got to have a good job to be able to afford to shoot this lovely sport. So, that's the great
thing.
Happen.
we can edit that out, Raylee. Just start.
No, but that's the one thing for our listeners is really pay attention. Get good grades in college, which will turn you to get a good job. You can ask Zach. Zach was homeschooled, and then he went to college, and he got good grades, and look at him now. He's successful, and he's able to shoot and do that. And that's the one thing that I really want to stress is pay attention, do your grades. Yes, if you can go to, like you went to school and shot, okay, and that's great. That'll help with your education, pay for it. But at the end of the day, you got to get a good job to be able to continue to shoot.
Of course,
So what
yeah.
you're doing,
And-
I commend you for it.
And time goes by so fast, but I could remember when I went to college and I was your age and I came through and I stayed with Ricky and Jody at their house, and Ricky's like, hey, I know you're a homeschooled kid, but you got to really pay attention at college because, at the time, all I knew was shooting. All I ever lived and breathed was shooting. I mean, I was the guy that was, that would sleep in the back of my car to go to a trap shoot. And like I would scratch a little bit of money in options and then go play a card game or a dice game or whatever to make it work. I mean, it was like all in, right? And you're just a young kid living with the lint in your pocket. And Ricky's like, listen, don't do that. You need to go to school. And Ricky's always been a mentor and an ambassador to young people in the sport, to just kind of, hey, you can do this, but you got to figure out how to do it the right way, because everything's evolving and everything's changing, and that's that's not going to go anywhere. And unfortunately, I don't think inflation is going down based on the way this economy is going. And that just makes it a part of it. I mean, I went the other day to try to get a dozen eggs. It was like $4.99 for a dozen eggs. I'm like, man, that's a lot for some eggs. I'm gonna have to become vegan, not because I don't want to eat meat, but just I can't afford it anymore.
Hey, Trey, my oldest boy Trey, he's got some chickens, so he's gonna be having eggs. I said, well, I know where I'm coming.
Hey, those chickens aren't going to be safe, because after a couple eggs, we're going to want some fried chicken, and they're going to be in the pot.
Here's what it is. I told him, I said, you better be getting lots of them. Have some chicken, have some egg.
All right, guys, we got to take another quick break and thank some more sponsors. We got to say big thank you to White Flyer, America's best targets. You make them, we break them, right, Rick?
That's right. We got the new Eco flyer that we helped design, myself and Sean Hawley. That's out now, available out of the Georgia factory. That's an awesome target. Look for that. Going to be available hopefully everywhere by 2025. But yeah, they are best target in the industry.
I'm looking forward to the Blue-Gray Shootout this year at the Grand, too. That's going to be a fun event.
Yeah, you're in that, too, this year, aren't you, Zach?
We both are, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm in it. I didn't know if you made it or not.
See, yeah, that's okay. I skated right in there. Don't you worry. But, we got another sponsor we got to thank. Yep. Shotguns West, the Pillas, baby. Check out these wings. Ricky don't got these. He ain't that stylish.
Oh, folks, listen. Zach tries to wear these driving down the road, doing podcasts. It's okay. We still love it.
When you look good, you don't have to apologize. Remember that. Not only can you hit more targets, but you can look good doing it. Give Ryan a call.
That's right.
With that being said,
let's get back to the show.
So, Raylee, I know we didn't talk much about your beginning of your career. We just kind of got right into the captain thing. But, what got you started into trap shooting in the first place?
Dad did a lot of hunting, and I was mostly just tagging along. And then I think in 7th grade, I was swimming mostly at that time. And then Dad's like, there's this trap shooting thing, and I had no idea what that entailed. And so, I honestly, there were probably times where I was about to quit there that first year, because we had a pump 20 gauge from Walmart, and it was kicking the crap out of me. And those first few weeks, I couldn't even finish an entire round because I was a wimp. And so, I mean, that's kind of where my parents come into things, and they probably regret it. But for me, it was good, because they told me, if you're going to start it, you're going to finish it, at least for this year. And then, so if they would have let me quit, it would have probably saved them quite a chunk of money. But I enjoyed it.
Okay. You get more money, but you can't get those memories back. Those captain's patches, those are you're gonna love those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know Dad's really happy with, and I am too, and I think I've seen it in my siblings a lot, just being able to, the community in it. I haven't even just seen the benefits for me and Dad. My youngest sister, I think you guys have both met her. She's traveled with me a little bit. My brother's traveled with me a little bit. And so they know quite a few shooters, and they've been incredible positive influences for my siblings. So I'd rather have them with me at a trap shoot in that kind of environment than
Yep.
somewhere else where they're going to be getting into trouble or.
Yeah. Acting like your dad.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It's a great place to bring your family, and if you're there, you know the kids are safe, people are safe, they're nice, they treat you well. I mean, everyone's friends, and you know you think about everything that's happening in this world nowadays, and where you can go and feel safe and feel loved and feel a part of something. And I mean, I don't get that feeling anywhere else but a trap shoot. I mean, I go there and it's like, okay, these are my people, right? And other than like your close family, you don't get a lot of that from just random people that you only get to see every once in a while. And it could be a year or 2 years. I mean, I think it's been probably a couple years since I've seen Dave Kelly, but I know when I see him again, it's going to be like, bam, we're best buds all over again. It just you go right where you left off, and that's.
If you would go back to California, Zach, to your home clubs and see those people, I've been there. I go and see your friends for you.
They told me that you were a much better instructor. They didn't want me to come anymore, and so I'm basically banned from California.
Hey, Birdie said stay out of Sunnyvale. No. No, but that Zach is right about that. I mean, both of my boys grew up in shooting. Trey did not shoot, but I knew literally he'd leave the camper in the morning and he'd come back at night. And I'd be like, what'd you do? Oh, I was over here. I was there. Yeah, I did this,
Come over to my trailer and play Guitar Hero all day.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. What are you doing? Ah, so Zach playing guitar. I'm like, oh my God.
All right, Trap Talk listeners, let's take a couple seconds and thank a couple more sponsors. First of all, Remington's been with us since day one. I've been shooting these shells since 2007. I shoot the Nitro 27 from the 27-yard line, ounce and eighth, 7.5, and STS ounce and eighths for singles and doubles. They've worked great for me, as they do a lot of top shooters all around the country. Give them a try. Don't forget the gun club line when you're practicing and you're wanting to save a little bit of money.
We'd also like to thank another sponsor, Outlaw Engineering. Randy Freston, R2. I've known Randy since 1988. They do engineering, surveying, drafting, GIS, civil, structural, land development, wetland permitting. They do it all.
And they're friends of trap shooters. I mean, they're a trap shooting family. They've been in the ATA forever. His dad's been involved. They're involved. They're a beautiful family. They're great people. And we just love that they listen to the show, and we love that they support Trap Talk.
Yeah, his dad was past president in 1989. So I really want to thank those guys for the support. I really appreciate it here at Trap Talk.
With that being said,
let's get back to the show.
Raylee, I do want to get a little technical. We've talked a little bit about your stories and your captains and your goals, but I know especially everyone, but especially the female listeners want to know kind of how you do what you do. So, with your hold points and with your style, are you very similar to like me and Rick's style, where you're on the house and driving everything out? Or are you up above the house waiting on the target? Or if you could explain, what are you doing in singles and doubles and handicap that produced this level of success?
So the biggest thing that Dad and I have noticed with all of the best shooters is it's the same every time. Now, with Ricky, who can be very social on the line, but you've still got routines that are very meticulous. And then you look at Dagan, where there's no messing around at all. But that is every time it's the same. So that's been probably one of the biggest things. I'm like you guys, I'm on the house, but I'm also one eye. So, and I've noticed that with a lot of female shooters, especially being one eye. And so then I've got to be on the house because of that. And then the other thing is I do pull up my hold point in doubles a little bit, about halfway between the house and where I want to shoot that first target.
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess I feel like it's pretty generic, but I think that routine.
So it's nothing crazy that you're doing, but you're doing it the same every single time, and you're really focusing on consistency.
That's probably been the biggest contributor from taking me from like a 95, 96 average in singles to those 98 averages. So
that's awesome. I'm glad you said that and mentioned that about the consistency, because I stress that in all my clinics about, and I use this terminology. The average shooter's like a heartbeat. Good, bad, good, bad. And the top shooters are like a dead person. No heartbeat. And it's the consistency.
I feel dead inside.
I knew he was going to say that. I feel dead.
Yeah, especially when I'm shooting really good, I'm just like, oh, I'm dead.
At it now. But that is a good point, though, for all the, the new shooters, our listeners. We've had great feedback from everybody, from guys that used to shoot 30 years ago. They're starting again. And it's, the same thing. I always tell everybody, if you're consistent, you're doing the right things, you're going to continuously break targets. Now, if you're consistent, you're missing targets, we need to change that up.
Yeah. I mean, if it's not working, don't continue. But she found something that's like, okay, this works. And then let's build on that.
Listen, just like she said, she's watching other shooters and top shooters. And that's what I did as a kid, 13, 14, 15, 16 at the Grand Americans. I'd go sit on the bench, a trap away, and I knew who they were. They knew who I was, but I didn't want to bother them, and I just kind of like, oh, that's what they're doing. And then I'd put that in the old vault, and, and that's why I tell everybody, go watch shooters.
You should be watching the best guys out there. The best guys and gals, go check them out, see what they're doing, see what their form is, see how they're set up. That's the best way, and that's the advantage of going to these big shoots is you get to see the big dog shoot, and that I think you could learn more from that than 10 hours on the practice field where you're just banging and doing the wrong things,
Just blowing lead down range. And for our listeners out there, don't do what Zach and I do sometimes. He gives me a lot of crap while we're shooting on the line. I wish he'd stop, but no, I'm just kidding.
It's our dynamic. We have fun out there. I can tell you there's a lot of people that look at our squad and they say, how do you guys ever shoot a good score? You're having conversations in between shots. And it's just like, well, for us, it just generally doesn't bother us. I mean, and I can really say that, and I think there's times and places where I do want to get more serious in my mind to get my game to the next level, but I do feel like we've done a pretty good job of just, having fun. And I think it goes back to having fun. If you're having fun and then you're paying attention as soon as that gun gets to here, well, you can do a lot of things in between.
Yes.
Here and there, as long as when you mount that gun, you're serious. And I'm as serious as a heart attack once that gun gets mounted. And I know Ricky is. I mean, he's got that stone cold dead look in his eye when them targets come out. He's just ready to murder them.
And he's on point. Every once in a while, I want to go, come on. But
I always snap out of it.
Why you're saying that, years ago when I shot with Leo, even when, in his prime, he still enjoyed the squad. We joked around. Occasionally something would happen and he'd give you the old side eye and then grin and laugh, and then we'd stop the squad. And, so it's okay to do those things. I just tell people, listen, try to be as serious as you can, and as long as you're comfortable.
As long as you're comfortable. As long as you're comfortable, for sure.
Fun, you're going to break targets. When you stop having fun, that's when the losses start coming.
Hey, Trop Talk listeners, let's take a quick second to thank a couple more amazing sponsors. SOS Clays Shoot Management. They're doing a fantastic job. I love the app. I love being able to see everything on my phone instantaneously. It's freaking awesome. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, Greg Pink and his group over there. I mean, they've got majority of the satellite grands, majority of the state shoots. I think it's 40 plus state shoots they're doing. But the app, honestly, we were doing a little beta testing with that at the Spring Grand. It's awesome. You can see your squad if they paid. You can see your options, your payouts. The whole works at your fingertips. Great deal. They're just
Ricky knew how much money he made before he even got off the line. He was like, hey, I'm buying lunch. I'm like, yeah, good job. We're good to go.
That's
we
right.
also got gun and trophy insurance. I mean, they're the best in the business. I know they're great price. Ricky, you're familiar with them, right?
Yeah, Cole and Larry Cushman been long-time supporters of myself, and I've been a supporter of them, and, especially with my college team. We require insurance. It's so fast and easy to sign up and get your insurance in literally 10 minutes. You can have your guns insured, and they're just great. They're great to deal with. Like I said, you can do your trophies also, your wildlife animals and that such, and your guns. It's just a great.
It's always good when you're traveling around to have that peace of mind and know that you don't have to worry about losing your stuff forever. And these are expensive things, especially when you got those Krieghoffs. You got to keep them insured. So,
exactly.
With that being said,
let's get back to the show.
So Raylee, we talked a little bit about your one eyes. you're shooting pretty low to the house. You're
Yep.
driving
Yep.
into the target. You're holding still. You're seeing the target. You're being consistent and building a good base. When you're having trouble, what are you working on to fix that? I mean, is it going back to basics, or is it, go to the practice trap, or seeking some coaching advice, or kind of what are the things that you do when things aren't going the way you want them to go?
When I'm missing, one of the other things that I've picked up over the last couple years is positive talk, I guess you could say, positive words and language. So it doesn't necessarily mean I'm being nice to myself, but it means I'm telling myself what to do instead.
Listen, you son of a gun. You better get your head on that gun and break that trigger, or you're not eating tonight.
Yeah, so
I've had those talks with myself.
so you tell yourself, don't miss another target. That's exactly what you're going to do. And I've learned that many a times. So I'm going to tell myself, if I'm under it, get on that target. If I'm over it, stay under that bird. If I noticed I was jerky or almost flinched or something, I'm going to repeat myself to be smooth, and I'm going to visualize what a dead target looks like. And not even just a dead target, like an ink ball, something that's
splatter.
completely yeah, it's got to be completely gone in my yes. And so those are things that I repeat to myself, and I just try to go back to the basics. When I'm in competition, it's all pretty much muscle memory, but if it's like crazy conditions and I can't go off of just that, then I'm reiterating all of my routine. So even the most small things, when it comes to mounting my gun, is my gun in my pocket, is the beads lined up, is the rib straight, all extremely meticulous if I have to be. Otherwise, it's just muscle memory. Now, if that doesn't work, and I come off the line and I can't think what in the world is going on, save me, it's Dad, Dale, or Steve. Steve Heaton was my college coach.
Yep.
So, and I take advice from a lot of people, but if I am struggling and if things are going so terribly and I need serious help, or I'm going to have a breakdown, it's one of those three people getting a call about.
It's like pull the parachute, right?
Yes.
Ripcord.
I call that the ripcord. When I go over walking to Ricky and I'm like, Ricky, the right ripcord. What am I doing here?
He goes by me and he goes like, I'm like,
Yeah.
take 2 weeks off, then quit.
It's like somebody just shot you in the chest, and you're like, what the hell am I? I've been shooting this shotgun for 21 years, and I still don't know how to do it.
Well, but that's a good point, though, Raylee, that you mentioned all that stuff. And for someone now, how old were you when you started shooting?
If I was in 7th grade, it's been 9 years.
So 12, 13.
Something like that, yeah.
I understand you're in college and math's a little hard, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm going to be an engineer. I'm really good at numbers.
It's kind of like Zach being a financial advisor. He couldn't count to 7 when he was homeschooled. It's okay. He could count to 25, though.
Okay. I can count money now, though.
Yeah. So, but really, a person at such a young age going through all this stuff, that is very good. I mean, I've taught people that they're like, what do you mean you self-talk? And I'm like, well, I do it. It's your subconscious mind. That's your devil. I call your subconscious mind your devil and your conscious mind your angel. And I'm like, and the devil's always there. I don't care who you are. Any top shooter, if they say, they're full of crap, because it is there. You just got to learn to control it.
Some devils have been at the buffet for a while, and they get kind of freaking, they get mean. They get a little stronger. You gotta starve them out a little bit. I'm telling you, I know how that is.
But that's the one thing is, if you can, like you said, don't miss that target. Let me tell you, if you tell yourself don't miss that target, you will miss.
You gonna miss.
And I've done it in practice where I'm shooting along and I'm like, let's see how mentally tough I am today. And I'll be like, you're going to miss this target. And I'm like, and if I kind of laugh to myself, I'll break it. But if I let that in there, I'll chip it or make the horriblest move you've ever seen. And I'm like, that is so weird. But it is. This is your computer.
It's a very important thing, the brain. People really don't realize how important it is, but it makes a difference out there. Gotta tell you, it does. And I gotta say, if you got something in your mind and you can't get it out of your mind, there's not much you can do about that. I mean, you just gotta
start all over. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, because you'll talk yourself into missing targets. And, one thing that's resonated with me that Rick said over the years is you don't have to miss. And I think so many people, they get to the point where like, I'm going to miss, or I haven't shot this score and I have to miss. Like, you don't have to miss. You just can hit them all. Like, it's okay. There's no penalty on that. All right, folks, let's take a quick second and thank some brand new incoming sponsors of the show. These are personal friends of mine, fellow clay shooters, and lovers of the outdoors, Rick and Carla Burke at 73 Pointers Ranch. Rick, tell them what we're doing.
Well, we're doing a giveaway at the Grand American. So they've graciously donated a one-person hunt for, I think it's, 18 quail or 12 chucker or 8 pheasants. Your choice, guide and dog. We've got dinner, overnight, lodging, breakfast. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a great giveaway.
It's a great thing. It's valued at like $1,500. You can obviously bring a guest if you'd like, but, it's about an hour out of St. Louis Airport. And if you're lucky, maybe me and Rick will go out there with you and do some bird hunting because this is an awesome place. It's a great time. And if you're local to this area, it's not that far out of the city. So you can be in the office and then be hunting in the afternoon. So they're great, great people, and they love this show. So we really, really appreciate the love and support.
Yeah, we'd like to thank Rick and Carla. We really appreciate that.
Also, we've got Mid-State Precious Metals, Ron Prescott. He's a great guy for all your gold and silver needs. Ricky, tell them about our friend.
Yeah, Ron, he graciously donated a 10-ounce silver bar to our live in-person podcast in Tucson. And, he has everything. I bought a bunch of silver from him. We got our silver and gold for the fun day at the Nevada State Shoot on Monday this year. John got all the silver and gold for the Nevada State Shoot. So look him up for your silver and gold needs. He'll give you the best price out there.
He really is, and he's a friend of the Trap Shooters. I mean, he's looking to get gold and silver to these gun clubs for their shoots at the lowest price across the country. He's doing them a service and helping grow the sport. So, thank you so much for that, Ron.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. We appreciate it.
With that being said,
let's get to the show.
So, Raylee, you've shared some really cool stuff with us today. Is there any stuff that you want to share specifically to lady shooters or any things that maybe good advice before we get out of here today?
I don't really know if I have anything specifically for ladies, but I mean, just goes back to what we were just kind of saying. Find a mentor or watch people. Like, when I started shooting, Dad would point out and name some of the guys in Iowa that were shooting ATA. And when I was younger, it was like, okay, Dad, you're weird. You're obsessed with numbers and looking up people. And
Dad, he's a weirdo.
I was like, what? That doesn't affect me. And, in high school, I think with some of those programs, they inflate egos a little too much, if not a lot too much. And then so once I started getting the ATA, I got humbled, first of all, real quick. Because, kids my age were shooting 50s, or they come back and say they shot a 47 and they were really upset. And then for me, when I was in high school, it was unheard of for those kids to shoot a 50 in doubles or something like that. And so once I saw, I was like,
rock star, yeah.
Well, I started to see that, the expectation was so much higher. And, being competitive, that mindset, I'm like, if they can do it and this is the expectation here, then I've got to step up my game. So just learning those, then I started to see the value of knowing people and researching them. So then I started, Dale is an hour from where I live. So I get to go and practice there pretty much anytime if he's
Which is
willing.
One of the best clubs in the Midwest by far.
Yeah, and by the way, shout out to Dale. He was the captain of the veteran team, so we got to have him back on again if he'll do it. I don't know if he will because he's so busy, planting corn and whatnot. But
he might have to pull that pistol out and point it at you.
He'll pull
again,
that
Zach.
pistol on me again. But we love Dale, and I love that you were thinking, who could I seek out to help me in the game? Who could I be around? Because I got to tell you, there's some greats above us, but if you don't go and talk to them and go learn and extract some of that information gets lost or you don't get to pick it up, right? And so there's a lot of great shooters that are young. They're doing some amazing things. But there's some guys that are out there that have, I mean, just done so much. And maybe they're not at that level that they were in their prime, but that doesn't mean that they don't have a lot of great information and they don't have a lot to give back to the sport.
Yeah, that is true. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and that's the other thing. I mean, it saved me a lot of money probably going to Dale or talking to Ricky or Keith or Dagan, talking to people that can just immediately point out something that you can fix instead of going through rounds and rounds and rounds and trying a million different things when it could have been fixed like that. So it's a lot cheaper, first of all, and it's just
It really is. It really is a just like that one adjustment. It doesn't have to be 10,000 rounds. I mean, there could be one little thing you're doing wrong and you just fix it and it's fixed.
It's usually a little thing. Could be how you're holding the gun, where you're looking, where your eyes are, how high they are, your stance. Trust me, I've done them all myself and been like, really? It's
What
just
the heck
because
is
you
wrong
don't
with us?
realize. Yeah, we're human. That's it. We're not a
Yeah.
computer.
Yeah. And
Well-
it's super interesting and clear. When I shot Kansas State, and I think it was like 2020, that was my first big ATA state shoot. I shot on a double squad with Dagan. I went for the weekend because I was trying to get a leather bag and they had it for the kids. So I went and
Yeah.
shot singles and we stayed. And I don't know how it happened, especially with how well he's done since then. But I ended up on a double squad with Dagan, and I was standing, I think, on like 4 and 5 with like a right-handed shooter stance, and I'm left-handed. So you can imagine how that looked, and that was miserable. And my scores were absolutely terrible. But his dad talked to Darnell, and he said, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you may want to fix that
You may want to try this.
because
You may
they're
want to
not
flip them
very.
feet around a little bit.
I mean, he said it way nicer than he probably should have because it was probably one of the ugliest things they've ever seen. But immediately after fixing that, my double scores have shot up like that again.
Well, yeah, I mean, you break hundreds in them, so you know what you're doing.
Well, and honestly, Mike Voigtman is a great guy, Dagan's dad. And he's there, he loves the show. Dagan's been on, and Mike hit me up the other day, wanted a hat. I told him Zach had sent him a couple. So
We'll be bringing the VIP hats to the Grand this year. We sold out of the last one, so it'll just be at the Grand. And if you're one of those guys, and you're going to get a hat.
But in all seriousness, Mike is there. He's watching everybody, and he is there. Like I said, there's not a nicer guy out there that will help anybody.
100%.
So, yeah, and it's when you see, because Tyler's left-handed, so I pick up on that because of that, and I'll see kids, and I'll be like, you might want to tell them to. And sometimes I've had parents or their coach come up and say, no, that's the way they're supposed to stand. I'm like, no, I don't think so. And I literally had a guy years ago. I was helping a high school kid. This is probably 15 years ago. And his teammate came over and shot on the practice trap too because, it was a small club. I couldn't have a private trap, which is fine. And he was standing on post 1 straight, trying to arm shoot the lefts. And I told the dad, and the dad goes, well, the coach wants him that. When the coach come up and goes, who are you? And I just said, well, I'm helping so-and-so. He goes, well, what do you do? And I go, I shoot a little bit. And I just left it at that. Well, then later on, it was actually I think it was South Dakota State shoot. The coach saw me, and he's like, I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize who you were. And I said, well, listen, it shouldn't matter that someone's just trying to help you. That could you tell that, hey, if you're more, shoot across your body, you could swing to that left target. And he goes, yeah, sorry. And he didn't, but I think he was still teaching kids the same stuff. And I'm like, No wonder they don't want to continue to shoot.
All right, Trap Talk listeners, got to take a few more seconds for some shameless plugs. This time, we're plugging Trap Talk. We got the hats on.
right.
Ricky, why are you wearing the same hat as me? It's going all gray. We got hats. We still got some available, right, Rick?
Yeah, we got multiple hats available. We got a big order of hats coming out too. You can get them on the website. John will put the link either up here or down here. Not sure. That's
Somewhere.
up to John. So I gave him both.
Yeah, you never know where he's going to put them. That being said, we love you guys wearing the hats at Trap Shoots. It really shows the support. It shows the love. Take pictures. Tag us on Instagram. Tag us on Facebook. Send us messages of you guys wearing the hats. Wear them proud. And we got a big reveal coming for the Grand. I think you guys are really going to like it. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a place for you to maybe get some merchandise. So more details to come. With that being said,
let's get back to the show. When you're getting beat up.
I mean, it's really hard because I can tell you there's places where people don't have the infrastructure and the help, and there's some people that might be coaching that maybe haven't shot as many targets as they should or understand all the dynamics of shooting. Now, I think that it's better to have somebody than nobody, but at the end of the day, like when you're getting to those levels of plateau, you have to seek someone that's kind of been there. I really think there are some good instructors out there that, all they do is they instruct and they don't shoot. But I've always been of the mindset that I want somebody that can teach, but also can shoot. Like I need to know that this guy has done it and been there and done that so that I can say, okay, I'm going to walk in those shoes where, if you don't have that for me, I had the lack of confidence in really believing, well, is that really going to work? Is that really something that's going to help me? If, conceptually they kind of brought it up, but like, oh, well, did you ever run 100 with that? Well, no. And I'm like, well, then I'm going to call Ricky again. It's just, it's just one of those things, it's just, you got to know where to go. But, Raylee, you have been a pleasure to be on the show today. You've answered so many great questions that I know the audience is going to love. Is there anyone you want to thank, sponsors, family, anything like that before we get out of here? Or
I'll rattle them off. So obviously my parents and dad, because either they were with me or they've been supporting me this entire time. And then I'll thank William Penn and my former coach, Steve Heaton, because I think going there had a major influence on getting sponsorships and achieving those captain titles those last couple of years. Dale Stockdale, obviously, because if it wasn't for shooting with him and learning from him and being able to use his amazing facility, I probably, again, would not be as successful as I am. And then I'll thank my sponsors, Remington. That has really helped the last year with expenses because it is, again, like you said, not a cheap sport. Kohler, they gave me an amazing I got an amazing firearm from them, and that has been a very exciting experience to be able to shoot that quality of a gun compared to what I was shooting before. And then Ranger, I'll thank them as well. So I think that covers it. I hope.
Well, we want to thank you for being on the show and taking your time to share your story with the listeners. We look forward to many great things from you, and we'll probably have to have you on again because I know we haven't seen maybe the three-peat. If you go three-peat, we got to have you on the show again, okay?
Oh, gosh. If I did that, I would.
No pressure. Listen, just go out, shoot, have fun. Remember, you're in adulthood now. Mom and dad want to kick you out. Dad probably does. But.
It's okay. You're doing great, and we appreciate you coming in today to the studio, and we'll see everyone next Friday. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody.
And the Trap Talk podcast is brought to you in part by
RM Shooting Clinics. Have Ricky take your game to the next level. If you want to shoot hundreds, give Ricky a call today. Zach Nannini Financial. We believe in putting people first.